First, let's pay homage to the lineage gurus. Homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Tsung Kung. Homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. And homage to Master Thupten Dorji. Let's pay homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of the group practice today, Mahajundi Buddha Mother. Sumu. Anzeng Katso. Tuten Siddhi. All Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet. How are you? How do you do?
Hola amigo, que quiero mucho. Skoyin, Ichiban, Kimochi, Jumi, Yapi, Bring Bring, Konbanwa. 大家好。
Today, watching the Tibi Boye, the new book Monologue Under a Solitary Lamp, that will be published on September 1st. The book cover looks like an abstract painting. But abstract painting is will not let people understand, and that's why it's called abstract. A painter can paint something realistic. So when we paint a human being, it would look like that person. When you paint a corner of a house, like the drum there, and the frames, and then you paint it as is, then when you see it, immediately you know it's a drum. That's a realistic painting. And then an impressionistic painting. So your impression about certain things, and then you paint it based on that impression, the impression that you have in your brain or in your mind. That's considered the impressionistic painting. And the realistic painting is the ones that's closest to reality. If it is from a little bit more like the impression in the brain, and you paint it, that's called the impressionistic paintings and the abstract paintings. You just take a little bit from the impression, what impression that you have in your mind, just being taken a little piece of it, and you exaggerate it, enlarge it, or shrink it, or change the form. So when we paint a mountain, it doesn't have to be like a mountain. A circle can be a mountain. A triangle can be a mountain. A square too can be a mountain. Or a rectangle can be a mountain too. So what you paint can be called mountains, and that's considered abstract painting. So just now I said that the eyes without face, only the eyeballs. So that represents your viewpoint. And the lines represent the roads. And the red ones represent spreading the Buddha Dharma to deliver sentient beings. So that could comprise an abstract painting. And we need to have the painter to explain the abstract painting, what they experienced during that time. So anything can be morphed into anything, change the forms. Therefore, I've been painting for so long. Other than techniques, you need to master the techniques, some of the techniques. And basically, what you have to master is the feelings that it evokes. Does this painting have a feeling? Is there feel to it? If it gives you feel, that means it's a good painting. But if you yourself don't feel any feeling, it's very easy, then I just tear it and throw it in the garbage can. There were several times when I did calligraphy and it was really messy, really bad. So I crumpled it, and yet someone picked it up. You didn't want it, but they picked it, and it turned out to be the most expensive one. So I myself did not have any feeling seeing it, but how come other people have feeling? So that's also a question there. Bien is my painting assistant for a long time. When I'm tearing the paintings, she kept saying no, because she wanted to keep it for herself. Whenever she said don't tear it, then I would tear it. to little pieces, but when she didn't say anything, I just tear it into big pieces. That's all life is about. I learned how to paint at 50. So one painting a day. Even when I have no time, I only have 5 or 10 minutes left, and I can still paint one painting in that time. And if I have no time at all and no inspiration at all, then I would just do a few calligraphy. That's what I do every day. I will not just waste it. The same thing about my writing books. Sometimes I have inspiration and I can finish the article very fast in half an hour. When there's no inspiration, I still write. Usually it takes an hour to finish an article, but it would take me 1.5 hours instead. And I would tumble and write and could not continue, and my brain was about to explode. So in one book, there's some articles that was written smoothly and some not. So that's also fate and destiny. When will we have inspiration? It's hard to predict. Let the blessings and protections by Golden Mother and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas be on me, so that in my book writing and painting, I would have inspiration every day. I ask this because this is my career in delivering sentient beings. At the beginning of the question and answer, let me share a joke first. The first time I heard it, someone cut it for me. The bed is messy. Is more creative is more creative than people who have tidy bed. Like in the morning when we get up, we have to make our bed. But if you don't make up your bed, then your creativity is 50 times more. If you always forget your things here and there, you're not as ambitious. And people who have big appetite has 90% more EQ compared to the people with small appetite. People who love to slip in are more empathetic than people who are in a routine. People who often are late has more sense of humor, 70%. Without knowing, I discovered that I am such excellent. Let me tell you that I am the opposite of these people. I have to make my bed every day, so I have no creativity. I always place everything in an orderly fashion. Even when I place this piece of paper, it would be exactly straight. It would not be. It would not be disorderly. Everything is orderly. That's why I love fame and privileges. My appetite. Recently, doctors told me to eat very little, cannot eat too much. That you will have some health problems. But it said here, if you have big appetite compared to people with small appetite, has 90% more EQ. I don't like to sleep. I would wake up when I'm supposed to wake up, and I would sleep whenever I'm supposed to sleep. I have a normal routine. I will write an article every day. I will practice every day. I will paint a painting every day. I'm once with the disciplined routine, so therefore I have no empathy. I rather not late. But why I'm always late when I drive here? Because I have to bring someone. I am never late. When I have a date, when I had a date before, I would be 15 minutes early. Always, never late. So, my sense of humor is lost. It turned out, I found out that I turned out to be so dumb. So is this accurate? No. You know who gave me this joke? Master Hui Jun. The first question asked by Taiwan Lianhua Guozai. On August 27, 2000, in Hong Kong, Grandmaster conducted the Kalachakra Grand Ceremony. And during the ceremony, you transmitted the pyramid mudra of the Shambhala Buddha land or country and the mantra Om Ahom Brum Ah Brum. So we have the mudra and mantra of the Shambhala country. Could we have the opportunity to learn how to visualize the Shambhala country? Check the internet. Is there an image or drawing of the Shambhala country? I have seen it in one of the sutras. The map of the Shambhala country. Anyone has seen it? Anyone have seen the map of Shambhala Buddha country? And is it in the internet? I remember I've seen it before. That's the mantra. Did you see it? Did you find it, Master Lian Yin? Really, they have the Shambhala map, Shambhala country map. So, yeah, this is what I saw. The kingdom of Shambhala. So how do you visualize? You visualize the map of the Shambhala. This is the map of the Shambhala kingdom. Because I have seen the map of the Shambhala kingdom. Is it in the cell phones? So you visualize the geography and the map of Shambhala in your brain, and then with the mudra, the pyramid mudra and the mantra. That's the mantra. We know about Om Ahom and Brum, which is what we usually chant, Om Brim, Om Bulin, Om Bulin. Actually, it is Brum. So Master Pu Fang told me about Om Bulin, but based on what I know, it should be Om Brum. Rum, Nung, Kan Lin. So that's why the teaching of different gurus are different. That's the real pronunciation. And the mantra and mudra. And then you visualize the map of the Shambhala kingdom. The second question by Malaysia, Lianhua Geyen. Homage to the precious Grandmaster. Your disciple, Lianhua Geyen, have practiced the 4 preliminary practices for over 20 years, yet I have not gained any spiritual response. I have completed 8 million times of Root Guru mantra recitation. Can I start practicing Root Guru yoga? Please provide your guidance. This question has been asked. Last Sunday, didn't we talk about this? How come it's here again? Yes, you can. Yes, you can practice the Root Guru yoga. Because you have completed 8 million times of Root Guru mantra. So there must be the power of the blessing. So who knows, maybe you would gain spiritual response after you start practicing it. Everything is predestined. Some people never gain spiritual union even until they're really old. Some old monks have practiced all their lives and they don't have any spiritual responses. Like Grandmaster, I just went to the Jade Emperor temple as soon as I kneeled, and Golden Mother immediately was in spiritual union with me. What should we say? I never practiced. I did not even know Golden Mother then. I don't even know any gods. I was still a Christian then. from the Presbyterian. I have no knowledge of the Taoism and Buddhism, but someone has been practicing for so long and has no spiritual response. So the cloth puppet is still playing. Presbyterian. So even if you hate your own faith, you cannot be resentful or complains to the heavens. You just that's really my fate. There's a joke related to faith. This is a joke. I went to a fortune teller to check if I have money or not in this life. And the fortune teller wrote in the page of the paper and wrote, your character and your destiny. Which of these two is more important? But this destiny also means life. And then I said, of course, life is more important. And the fortune teller said, then you will not have money. And he asked why. The fortune teller said, if you have money, then you would follow your desire. But if you have no money, then you would admit your destiny. Wealthy people are more following their desire, more headstrong or willful. And this disciple did not have any spiritual response after practicing 20 years. But Grandmaster Lu got it as soon as I kneeled down. So that was the destiny of a dog's poo. What can I say? It just happened. I did not practice. Nothing. I just kneeled. And Golden Mother already descended. So Amitabha Buddha too descended. Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva. So that's my destiny. So no spiritual response after over 20 years, Amitabha. The third question. Nianhua Dawi from Taiwan. Upon receiving an empowerment for smoke offering, I have practiced it 500 times. At about over 400 times, all of a sudden a crow appeared. And it's crowing very sad and shrill. At first I thought it was a coincidence. Little did I knew. Afterwards, every time I performed the smoke offering, the crow would be there and crowing ever so sadly. And when I didn't do the smoke offering, the crow was not there. It's really amazing. I tested it several times. Every time when I visualize making offering, then the crow shrill the worse. My impression is that crow is not a good omen. Every time it appeared there, there's an eerie feeling in me. Please advise why this is. What should I do? What does the crow represent? I just know that all living beings have souls, but I'm not sure if it is good or bad. Thank you, Grandmaster. Lianhua Dawei from Taiwan. So, when he practiced smoke offering for 400 times, every time he practiced it, the crow would shrill. And if he doesn't practice, the crow doesn't shrill. So that's the response. But the shrill is very sad. This is also strange. Let me consult. So, the guidance from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are because when you practice smoke offering, that's for your karmic creditors. So all of your karmic creditors gathered at that crow, on that crow, and shrill very sadly. That meant that your karmic creditors are still suffering. So your smoke offering cannot extinguish the suffering of your karmic creditors. And the guidance of the Golden Mother is, since you know that your karmic creditors are suffering, then you help them by bardo delivering them. Bardo deliverance for them. Register them for bardo deliverance. Homa offering several times until the crow does not appear anymore, which means until your smoke offering is extremely good. But this is also a kind of spiritual response, because when you perform the smoke offering, your karmic creditors gathered at that crow to signify their suffering. So you have to find ways to bardo deliver them. Until one day, the crow appears but does not shrill very sadly anymore, which means you have succeeded in your smoke offering. That's the answer given by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So the appearance of birds in the sky happened to Grandmaster many times. The first time I transmitted Akalanata was in California, at the San Francisco area. The first time I transmitted Akalanata. When I transmitted the Buddha Dharma, all the birds in the sky descended. And they chirped together. People who attended, De Hua, the Venerable Li, many birds descended and chirped together. And at the Rainbow Temple, Rainbow Villa, when we consecrate the Maitreya Bodhisattva that's in white, when I was consecrating him, there were rays of sunlight, and then all the birds descended together and make songs and sang together. Anyone there then? Many people knew. The Venerable Li Biyan. Many. They all raised their hands. Also, when the True Buddha Seattle chapter was consecrated in Chinatown, all the birds also descended and then perched on the electricity cable in a line. Many people saw that on the power cable, all lined up there. And also at the Freedom Square in Taipei, or the CKS Memorial Hall. You know, when I was conducting the Mahotara Heruka grand ceremony, we had the pagoda there, right? The mandala, and then all the birds descended and then circled around it. That's also quite miraculous. Many people saw that. Many people took pictures and videos. Mahotara Heruka. This kind of phenomena happened. And the day when I was about to get married, I was walking here and I saw on top of the True Buddha Tantric Quarter there are two magpies jumping and jumping over there. And I thought, oh wow, there's the magpie there. And I'm about to get married. And sure enough, that evening, there was a lady that brought her suitcase wanting to come to stay my home and get married to Grandmaster. Right? Did it happen? Yes. And she's very slim, has good figure. Unfortunately, Simu did not agree. And finally, she left carrying her suitcase and never returned again. So if Simu had agreed, then she would have become the first wife. So wife becomes the first wife. That lady really carried her luggage here. Many people knew. Many omens. From Malaysia, Lianhua Jiaren. I have taken refuge in Grandmaster for 20 years, but my daily practice of the Vajrasattva's 4 preliminary practices started about 4 years ago. My question is, why is it that I haven't been able to change my bad temper? It came suddenly, and afterwards it is all fine. Of course, after it passes, then it's fine. Otherwise, that would have been horrible. But people around me cannot stand it. I feel disturbed by it too, but I just cannot control it. How should I change my bad temper? Thank you very much for your teaching. Wish you good health and peace. Let me tell you. Under the heavens, the one with the worst temper is my grandfather. My grandfather has a horrible temper. When he is reprimanding kids, based on what I know, because when I was born, he's already passed away. But his temper was really bad. So bad that his one daughter went to school in Japan, and she was doing something, and then she was sewing something, and he grabbed her hair and pushed her head to that sewing machine until it was bleeding. I heard that my grandfather was really horrible, and he used his hands really badly. And then my dad inherited that bad temper. His temper was also terrifying. You know, the wooden bat is very solid and huge, and he would take off my shirt, and he would just beat me until the bat was broken. So I grew up in an abusive family, and then I inherited it. My temper was also very vicious. In the past, my temper was very violent. I wasn't afraid of my dad. Of course, he's my elder, so I just endured it when he beat me. But when I got angry, I wouldn't care about anything. I would even break down the wall, the door, the windows. When I got really angry, I would also become physical. I would hit something. Simu knew when I was young, I also had a bad temper. But after becoming a Buddhist, studying Buddhism, I changed. After practicing Buddhism, I changed. I trained in endurance, Actually, I was very vicious, very ferocious. Nobody knew. When I get angry, when I became ferocious, I'm extremely violently ferocious. But now I just endure it and become patient and endure it. In the past, I bullied 师母. Now 师母 bully me. 师母 bullies me. When 师母 gets angry, immediately I would run away. I would keep my distance. This is a method. We cannot lose the temper at the same time. So if she raised her voice, then I would go away further. Because when I hear loud voices, then I would be even louder. So the only thing I can do is to keep my distance and go away further. Don't listen to it and then endure myself. And sometimes, before, from time to time, I would also raise my voice, but now I don't. And I never use my hands. Gentlemen never raise their hands toward a woman, because once you do that, that's the end of you. Never hit anyone. Then that would cause a wound that could never heal. In the past, I did use my hands, and that's never erased. Now other people use their hands or raise voices. Now all I could do is just to endure it. Doesn't matter how loud that person speaks, I cannot raise my voice. All I can do is just to go away. So people around me cannot stand it, which is true. You should not have a temper normally. Ordinarily, you shouldn't have any temper. As a spiritual cultivator, we have to tame our own temper. And only when you have an even-keeled mind that you can harmonize your qi. And your name is very good. 莲花家人. So you have to add compassion and benevolence. So your name is already reminding you, teaching you all the time. You should be patient, endurance. You have to have compassion. You should not let other people suffer because of you. And your wife, when your wife become vicious, then you just go away, further away. And because you didn't hear it, then you're not affected. And it's okay, just let it go. So you yourself should not lose your temper, because your name is Jiaren. So please remember, never lose your own temper. It's okay that your wife loses her temper. All you can do is just to avoid it and just to go further away. Keep a distance. Grandmaster, how can I change my bad temper? What should I do when I lose my temper? You should remember what Grandmaster is teaching you. Or else you go back to your own bed and then you use your fists to beat your blankets. To let go of your anger. then once the anger subsides, then you'll be fine. Just keep a distance. This is endurance. Is there any other way? I'd like to ask everyone, any other way? I also have bad temper. In the past, I was also short-tempered, and after spiritual cultivation, I changed. From Taiwan, homage the precious Dharma King. In 1999, Dharma ceremony of Guru Padmasambhava Supreme Dharma for purifications, enrichment, organization, and subjugation, presided by Master Lianhua Chengzu. I have the following questions on the meaning of these two praises in the sadhana. Om Ahum. I take refuge in the supreme teachings and regard them as the parents of the sentient beings in the 6 rebirth realms. To be liberated from rebirth, to attain Buddhahood, we together profess the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicitta vow. And Om Ahum, assimilating all the Dharma for rebirth and nirvana, from the origin of empty extinction like an open sky, to abandon any attachments, getting, giving, and contriving, as spoken by I, Guru Padmasambhava. Let me explain. Om Ahum is the beginning of the mantra that we chant. Om is the universe, Ah is the Yidam, Hum is the perfection. Om Ahum. It means the perfect universe. I take refuge in the most supreme teachings. I take refuge in the most supreme teachings and regard them as the parents of the sentient beings in the 6 rebirth realms, because you have many parents from many lifetimes. You want to help and deliver parents from many lifetimes. And where are they? They are amidst the 6 rebirth realms: heavenly realm, human realm, Asura, hell, animal, and Holy Ghost realms. The parents from your past lives are all there. They all have parents from your past lives. To be liberated from rebirth, to attain Buddhahood. We don't want to be reborn again. We want to attain Buddhahood. You and the parents in the 6 rebirth realms together profess the supreme bodhicitta. That's the explanation of this praise, this verse. We together profess the bodhicitta vow, which means you take refuge in front of the most supreme teachings in order to liberate the parents that are in the 6 rebirth realms, so that we don't need to be reborn again, and together attaining Buddhahood. And we profess the mind to liberate sentient beings. That's the meaning of the first vow, the first praise. The second praise, Om Ahum, the same. The consciousness of the universe is perfect. Assimilating all the Dharma for rebirth and nirvana. The Supreme Buddha Dharma includes the Dharma for rebirth and for extinction, or the path the Buddhist path, Dharma for rebirth and for nirvana, extinction, all included. From the origin of empty extinction like an open sky. Originally, there were no mountains and oceans and none of the phenomena. The whole universe is empty and extinct, just like the open sky. And all the phenomena, the earth, mountains, and oceans, were manifested from the sky, from the emptiness. One is emptiness, one is existence. To abandon any attachments and getting, giving, and contriving, and two sides. We avoid the two sides. We not attach to emptiness nor existence. The dual execution of emptiness and existence is the middle way, the Madhyamaka. We don't side to any sides, not to the emptiness, not to the existence. So, and both of them together to become the middle way. And the development stage and perfection stage are executed in duality. And existence and emptiness together, and then bliss and wisdom are executed together. The Buddha Dharma is the Madhyamaka. And I, Guru Padmasambhava, said so or spoken by Guru Padmasambhava. So what is dual execution? Dual execution of rebirth and nirvana, of emptiness and existence, of bliss and emptiness. That's the concept of Madhyamaka, or the middle way. Therefore, no birth, no death. Therefore, away from attachments, from getting, from giving, or releasing. You cannot get anything, and you cannot release anything. No gain and no loss. Away from the two extremes. And away from any contriving, and away from the two extremes, as spoken by Guru Padmasambhava. That's the explanation. Do you understand or not? The next question. I have two questions about water offering. For the water offering tower, do we need to set up dry ice or mister so that it looks like the fairyland of Golden Mother? Or is it okay we just use that water tower by itself? This is a question about the practice procedure. Typically speaking, when you perform water offering, you need a mister or dry ice to create mist, to give you a kind of feeling, so that people have some feeling. You cannot just put the water in a triangular tower. It's not a wish pond. So you want to create inspiration or feeling to make it feel mystical and holy. It's okay to create that. For the fire offering, we can write our wish on a homa card and throw it into the homa fire. As for the water offering, can I write my wish on a small piece of paper and throw it into the water? My wish? It's okay. If you just write a small piece of paper with wishes and then put it into the water offering tower, it's okay.
我再念一下道果。复次，
Now I will read the excerpt from Lamdre.
之定，颂吟。
The fourth kind, the meditation arising from the cause. The fifth one, a brief explanation on the meditation arising from the cause is as follows. The verse, the mind abides internally by relying on the other. The meaning of the mind abiding internally is to absorb the mind like a bee is glued to the glue. The verse, absorbing the five consciousness. Like the moment of absorbing the mind, the eyes and the other senses are not affected by the environments. This is the dispositional nature of meditation. Let me talk about these two paragraphs first. The verse, the mind abides internally by relying on the other. The meaning of the mind abides internally is to absorb the mind like the bee glued to the glue. Our mind is like galloping horses and moving monkeys. So your mind is like jumping monkeys and your thoughts are like galloping horses. But what is the mind abides internally? That's to absorb the mind, to bind the mind, and glue and bind the mind there. It's like the rhyme that bind the horse. An analogy is like a bee that's flying. So a bee is also flying non-stop, keep moving. But if you use a 3-second glue, and then when the bee is touching it, then it would be glued and cannot move anymore. This is called absorbing the mind. When you catch the bee and to make it stop, and when you catch your mind and to make it stop, that's the mind abides eternally, and also called the mind absorption. To make the bee or the monkey or the horse not moving, that's called the mind absorption. You want to make your mind not moving, that's mind abiding. That's what it means here. You have to learn meditation. In order for you to learn meditation, you have to have mind absorption. You don't want to think of any other things. You have to bring it back. And we call that what do you call that? Oh, I forget the word. It's called stopping and seeing. And there's major stopping and seeing and minor stopping and seeing. Stop. So you stop all of your thoughts. And seeing, which is visualization. You're being mindful. And not only this, there's a profound meaning to the stopping and seeing. In the seeing, you focus all your thoughts onto one thought. First, you use this method. You make all of your thoughts to focus on one thought, and then you stop it. You stop your thoughts completely. That's mind absorption, which is mind abiding internally. Second, the verse absorbing the five consciousness, which is the five consciousness are of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. Is that right? That's form, sights, sound, taste, smell, and touch. So that's why the arhats have to kill the six thieves, and the thieves are the six senses of the eyes, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Why do you want to kill the six thieves? Because when you see, then you would think of that, one of what you see. That's why you want to close your eyes. When you hear a sound, then you are distracted by the sound. So that's why you have to close your ears or your hearing sense. Or if you smell fragrance or a stinky smell, you want to close your nose too. Or the taste, that's why you want to close your tongue too. Or when your body touches something, then you have a certain sensation from that. So that's why you want to shut off the touching sense. All the senses of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, and the mind, and also the taste, the sights, the sound, smell, touch. Absorbing the five consciousness, like the moment of absorbing the mind, the eyes, and the other senses, so that they are not affected by the environments. This is the dispositional nature of meditation. When you close off all the sense organs and then the sensation, then you will not be affected by those. So if you open your eyes, then whatever you see, your thoughts will follow that and would make up a long story about it. That's why they say the eyes look at the nose and the nose gaze at the mind. The eyes gaze at the nose gaze at the mind, to become one, and from one to become zero. And that is meditation. When one becomes zero, that becomes meditation. First, the eyes gaze at the nose gazes at the mind. Then you enter into one. Then from one, you enter into zero. And that is meditation. So this is the dispositional nature of meditation. You have to absorb the five consciousness, the five senses, and you have to resolve all these five senses. Now you understand. That's all. For now. There's a plane that got off for 30 seconds and then got back down, landed again, and then waited for 20 minutes and then took off again. And at the standard elevation, a curious passenger asked the stewardess, "So what happened earlier?" And the stewardess replied, "Because when the first time they took off, they realized there was a strange noise on the left, so he did not want to continue and landed. And the passenger was content and said, 'Oh, so you fixed the engine?' And the stewardess said, 'No, We just found a different pilot that dared to fly it,
犯了一个
regardless.
这是一个笑话。
That's a joke.
有一个喝醉酒全裸的男人。
There's a drunken, nude man, and then was trying to wave a taxi in the deep of the night. And the driver was a woman,
裸体的男人一直看。
and her eyes glared at this nude man. And this nude
不
man
好意思，
felt embarrassed being glared. You never saw a naked man before?
你以为我在看？
And the driver replied,
我是在
I wasn't looking at your body.
哪里？
I was just checking.
掏出钱来。
Where would you get the money from?
也是对呀、你裸体呀、你钱到底在
That's
哪里
right. You're
你
naked.
拦住我
So where would the
我的车
money
你
be?
钱在哪里？
You wanted to get on my taxi, but how would you pay? Where do you keep your
是
money?
一个道理。我觉得
That makes sense.
是这样子的。
I feel
其实我们常常被眼睛所骗，
often we are being cheated by the eyes.
眼睛所骗。
Men are
为
often
什么？
tricked by their eyes. Why?
眼睛还是
How
会骗
can your eyes trick you? Of course, the eyes
知
can
道
trick you and cheat it on
化
you.
妆很厉害，化妆术现在
You know,
很厉害
makeup. You know, the makeup tricks are extremely
变成留美，
incredible now.
明明是这个
The eyebrows that's upside down becomes
它会变成
nicely curved,
眼睛发亮，
and eyes with no soul at all will become radiant,
它会把它画到变成
and the nose that turn up can be made up that they look very
它整个都可以改造，
different.
出来变成一个美女。
So after makeup, she became beautiful. And when you see that, you would be
把
dumbfounded.
整个化妆拿掉的时候，天哪！
But when she took off her makeup, oh my God, it's a grandma
变成林阿嬷，那你这个眼
becomes
睛
your
就被骗了。
grandma. So that's why you're being cheated, right, by your eyes.
啊，明明是白
Don't you
头
think so?
发，白了一半的，
White hair,
头发乌溜
all
溜
have hair.
蓝
And
起来
now
头发乌
her
溜
hair is black after being dyed.
好好，
And you thought, oh wow, what a beautiful hair.
像那些
And there's some nice smell
你觉得哇，
that kind of brush through your face, and you feel very
有一天呢，
content.
他没有染头发被你看到了，
And then one
原来
day
一半的头发全部白了。
she did not dye her hair, and you happen to see it, and it turned out it's half white, still a grandma. So you're being
我们
tricked
经
by
常
your
被自己的
eyes.
眼睛所欺骗，
We are often being tricked by our own eyes,
自己的鼻子
our ears, by our own nose, our own mouth,
被自己的身体所
our
骗。
own body.
所以要禅定，
So,
一定要关掉。
in order to meditate, we have to close off these 5
舌身
senses
色身
of
香
the
味
eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, of the sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch.
禅定的
They all have to be closed off.
原因，
That's the
定主要的原因。
important
慢慢地
reason why we are able to enter into meditation.